Let's see if I can find.
It's NAMI Communicate.
Okay, guys, I'm so sorry. The internet is giving me some hard times. So can you hear me and see me? Yes. Okay. Sorry. So I was actually talking to Ken Duckworth. He's part of NAMI. It's Health Awareness Month, and we're trying to give everybody some kind of tips on how to stay like happy, healthy, positive. Looking good is amazing. Keeping up your physical, working out is incredible, but it's also about taking care of this. This is really important. So we're going to get back Ken Duckworth, and we're going to start talking more about how to help your anxiety, make you feel happier, how to work on yourself, mentally as well as physically. So let's see if I can get Ken back on here. And hopefully you can see us when he comes on. By the way, look, I killed my glam today.
Hi, Bebe.
Oh, hi, Ken. Okay. I was
Great.
just telling everybody how, I just did a recap of it about how it's Mental Health Awareness Month, May.
Yes.
So we're really lucky to have you. We were talking a little bit about anxiety. A lot of Americans have anxiety. You
Yes.
said about, what's the rough number of how many Americans experience anxiety in the United States?
Well, before this whole thing started, we were running at about 40 million.
Wow.
And so if you think of a curve, right, the whole thing has shifted. Many more people are having anxiety symptoms.
Of course. I'm scared to leave the house. Like, I get anxiety leaving the house. I'm like...
It's also unsettling because, they keep changing the estimates of how bad it's going to be. I don't know if you saw that. We got to keep our media dose minimal. But you do need enough information to know that now you have to wear a mask. There might be a new treatment coming down the pike, right? There's some possibilities for some hopefulness, but it is something I recommend, like coffee. Don't do media. Like at the end of this call,
I'm gonna start doing that. So you're saying that at 6 o'clock I should stop being on my like watching the news or Instagram
media inputs, given it's a lot of it's bad news, a lot of it's unsettling, right? It's anxiety provoking. So in terms of taking care of your sleep, settle your body down, do physical activity, deep breathing. The Zen Buddhists figured this out. They can control their blood pressure. They're so good at it. But even those of us who aren't good at it, your body still settles down when you deep breathe. You let your belly flow out. You do a deep breath. I do it about every hour through the day, and I do stop media inputs. I really do stop them.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're saying that I can watch the news and I could be on my Instagram and TikTok, whatever, but I should cut it off after a certain point.
Well, obviously, you'll experiment and learn what's best for you. We're all different. Right. And I have a feeling you have more than one or two media requests in a day, given your stature, in the industry and in society. But I would just encourage you, like the rest of us, to switch to reading books, talking to friends, taking a walk, playing Scrabble, whatever it is.
Scrabble!
Old school, right? Whatever it is that you do,
But my Scrabble, see, Ken, my Scrabble, everything is on my phone. Everything is on my books on my phone. Like it's gonna warp you in. So I guess it's about finding something that's not on your phone, right? It kind of is amazing though when I'm not on my phone for one day, I feel already better.
Yeah, the phone detox is helpful, but of course, a lot of communications from people you love come through your phone. It's a tricky relationship we have with technology. My takeaway from this is because we're already anxious, if you reduce the media inputs, you're promoting your chances of having a good night's sleep.
Can I say something?
Please.
I spoke to you yesterday. We had a chance to talk, and it was awesome because I told you that lately, in the last couple of weeks, I haven't been able to sleep. I slept 2.5 hours the night before, and I just couldn't sleep. So you said to put media away. Last night I tried it, and I shut my laptop off. I shut my phone off. I did not even look at it. I slept. I fell asleep. I slept at least 8 hours.
Fabulous.
I had such a good night's sleep last night.
It's great. And this is good for all of it, for anxiety, for depression, any vulnerabilities that we have, for addiction vulnerabilities, bad sleep predicts trouble. So take care of your sleep like it's a precious baby, right? Be mindful of it. Use your body, tire your body.
True.
Don't do too much inputs on the media after dinner. Enjoy the people that you're with.
It's so
You
hard
know?
though, because I feel like with our generations, we're so
I
used to
know.
like being on Instagram, focusing on the likes, posting on our TikToks, posting on our Snapchat, posting on our, like, being on, you know, I don't do Facebook anymore, but I'm sure a lot of people still do Facebook. And it's like, it's really sucks because it's like an addiction. Like, it's like I'm addicted to it, and it kind of gives you
Yeah.
like this high. Like when you go and like see your likes, or when you want to post something, it's like exciting, and it kind of gives you like a little life.
It pulls for a part of us that likes to be socially recognized. It pulls for a part of us that wants to belong. You know, it's very seductive. And again, I'm not Mr. Anti-technology. I use my computer all day long. Without technology, I wouldn't be able to have this fabulous conversation with you. But I think moderation in terms of the inputs, being mindful that your sleep is really important for your mental health. And there is no health without mental health. And if your mental health is having trouble, you know, your health is going to suffer.
Okay, so first and foremost, what we just said was we want to lay off media, being on the phone, the news. You can allow yourself, obviously, because we're going to be on it, but at a certain point of the day, you want to even, how about, what if we start by saying like an hour or two, we kind of just lay off of it. So like around 6 o'clock, I start cooking dinner. And I know at that time, I can't be on my Instagram unless I'm recording what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But at that time, I start cooking, you know, and it's like I'm focused on cutting the onions, and maybe we do something, maybe we have an hour or two of painting or writing songs or playing piano or something, kind of where our minds are not in our phones.
Yeah.
So sleep is very important as
you
well.
figure out what works for you, right? We're going to be at this for a while, right?
You
And
think
then you
so?
had a great, I'm afraid that's true. You know, this is my first pandemic, Bebe, and as it is for everyone's. The scientists don't know everything. The epidemiologists don't know everything. I think we can expect that this is going to be disruptive to our lives for the foreseeable future. I'm not saying years and years. I'm saying I'm not sure it's going to look the same. And so, you know, you're going to have plenty of time to adjust to. Do you become a master at board games? Are you a person who likes to hang out with your family? And watching TV can be okay, but don't watch disaster movies, pandemic movies.
I know, my friends are calling me, telling me they're watching Contagion.
Yeah.
Don't, everybody, if you have anxiety, do not watch those movies. It does not help. You want to do things that kind of like calm you down. Watch
That's
a
right.
drag race, watch a cooking show, watch something that makes you happy and makes you feel better. Yeah, and so sleep is really important. I had no idea, because I get really moody and I have to kind of control my moods.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea what a big role sleep plays, because like, you know, you think that it's about eating healthy and drinking tons of water and working out. And something as simple as sleeping can affect all of that. One of my fans just wrote, how do you deal with waking up at night with nonstop thinking from anxiety? What do you do if that happens?
Yeah, so at some point, if you're really having interruption in your life from your anxiety, I would not try to deny that. I would try all these typical strategies. So cognitive behavior therapy would say, we anticipate the future, which could be scary, but don't believe that that's going to happen. If you can't correct that on your own, you know, mental health practitioners are doing video visits. Now, I just said don't use technology, right? I'm full of contradictions. But mental health practitioners are using video visits. It's the fastest pivot in America.
Where could they get that? Could people go and find, because a lot of times also, sorry for cutting you off, Doc, like a lot of times, like, you know, especially starting out, when I had anxiety, you know, especially in this industry, growing up in the industry, you know, like my family is really old school European. Like they didn't, like, they thought like, oh, like just snap out of it. Anxiety is not a real thing. So I see that around the world with a lot of different cultures. You know, a lot of my friends are like Persian or Indian, or and I see that in a lot of households where it's like kind of like you know, like snap out of it, it's just fine. Is there somewhere, I mean, can my fans, or can people find a therapist right now that they could talk to over FaceTime or something? Like where could they go?
Yeah, things have been amazingly relaxed. So therapists, psychiatrists, mental health types used to have a very specific way to deal with people. Now you can use Zoom, FaceTime in most regulatory areas. Now, I know you have an international following. And
Yeah.
of course, we have a patchwork system of mental health. So in America, you'd go to your health plan, call the number on the back of your card and say, my anxiety is keeping me up in the middle of the night. It might be that your primary care provider could give you a short-term medicine. You know, not medicine is only a tool, but that's not where I would start. I would start with, you know, calming your body down, deep breathing, and talk to a therapist about this to put this into some perspective.
But where do they go? Could they go on the name? Is it NAMI or NAMI? Can you tell me NAMI?
NAMI is a beautiful organization for support, but we don't recommend therapists to people because there's such a patchwork system in America.
Got
So
it.
if you probably have the Screen Actors Guild or some other really,
Sad,
yeah, you have something that will have health insurance. They have therapists that are in their network, right? So,
Got it.
I worked for Ford Motor Company. They would have a different health plan.
Got
of course,
it.
in other countries, there'd be alternatives to,
Well, that
this.
sucks.
Yeah, I'm
I'm not happy about that. I know you're allowed to say anything about that. Sorry.
Well, your music brings us together, right?
Yeah.
But the healthcare system is fragmented and complicated. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's not get into that right now. Let's stay positive.
Let's stay with the good stuff. But if your
Somebody
anxiety
one of my fans wrote, when I tell my dad about my anxiety, he just tells me to deal with it and grow some balls. But it's messed up, but it's true. Like, that's what I had to deal with growing up too. Like, what do you do about that? Like,
well, first of all, I want you to remember your generation is changing this game. You should be very proud of your generation. You're more open about it. You seek help quicker. This is part of the human experience. My father had bipolar disorder, and he lived in a time before NAMI. We didn't talk about it inside of our family, much less out in the world, right? So, he was living with this vulnerability. He was a wonderful person with a terrible illness, but we didn't have a space to talk about it. We were hoping it would go away. So that's my generation. Obviously, I've got gray hair, but I still like your music. But your generation is showing so much progressive thinking. This is part of the human condition. Anxiety, depression, these are human vulnerabilities. And I think it's really important.
oh, I think I lost him. Can you guys see him? Hello, Doc.
Hi.
Doc, are you there? Hey, I lost you.
Sorry about that. So anyway, I think taking good care of yourself, getting mental health support when needed, these are strategies that you can employ, and be proud that your generation is changing the conversation.
Yeah,
right?
I still meet people and they're like, oh, I can't go to a therapist because that's going to mean I'm crazy, or I can't see a psychiatrist. I have a question. A lot of times people, when they have anxiety, they'd go to their primary doctor. And what if your primary doctor would prescribe you meds to help you with your anxiety? Would you recommend holding off on that and saying, okay, cool. Is there actually a psychiatrist you recommend, or somebody that's like, because how does that work? Like, what would you recommend in that?
So primary care doctors are one of the backbones of the American mental health system. And if you like your primary care doctor and you have a lot of anxiety, they may know a therapist, and they may ask you to think about a short-term medicine for anxiety. Medicines for anxiety are not long-term strategies. That's very important. So you'd be using it to get you through something short-term. But you don't need a psychiatrist unless you have a more complicated experience, right? Most antidepressants in America are prescribed by primary care doctors. Most people like their primary care doctor. Most kids love their pediatrician.
Well, I guess psychologists, right? Like, I have a psychologist and I have a psychiatrist. A psychologist talks to you about, if my fans don't know, a psychologist will talk to you about, working on, methods of helping you get through certain things that are making, being tough for you, things that are tough for you. You may be OCD, or scared about something, or fixing your negative thoughts, or falling into a hole. So I talk to my therapist my psychologist on stuff like that, and then the
Yeah.
psychiatrist is allowed to prescribe medication.
So I'm a psychiatrist. I went to medical school, but I like talking to people. So psychiatrists can both do therapy and medications, but oftentimes they work with people specifically around areas of interest of, you know, a specialization: eating disorders, obsessive compulsive disorder, bipolar disorder, because there's a lot of different mental health challenges that people face. And if you can get somebody who has experience with something, you're better off.
And we also spoke yesterday about how, you know, finding the right medication for you is, for each person, is different, right? Like it takes a second to get it right.
We don't have a system to understand what medicines will work for which individual. We do know that the medicines help most of the people most of the time if you get the right diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
But I can't say why they work at a biological level, and neither can anyone else. We're not that good. So what you need is a relationship with someone. You trust them. You problem solve. You recognize that all treatments have side effects. This is no different than any other
weight
treatment.
Gain.
Many of the mental health medicines cause weight gain.
Yeah.
People need to know that you may not feel a sense of fullness. You need to just eat one plate and
that makes
stop.
sense.
Because your brain, it might be getting benefited from whatever symptom you're targeting, but you know, our medicines are very imperfect and have side effects. They might impact one thing, but on the other side, they might impact your sense of fullness. So I tell my patients, make a plate. This is not your fault. Weight gain is part and parcel of many psychiatric medicines. I'm really sorry about that. But let's see, if you're really depressed or really anxious and it's getting in your way, you can't work, or you can't write songs, or you can't function as a mother or father, you know, you might want to consider a treatment, and you weigh the risks and benefits of all treatments, and you go for the lowest effective dose, because that's going to give you the least amount of side effects.
So, okay, so if you have some form of anxiety, the first step is to try breathing exercising, meditation, exercising, doing things that make you feel better, maybe laying off the phone. Just a recap: laying off the phone, shutting off social media and the news for a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Making sure you get a good night's sleep. Trying to just do things that kind of, you have to be your own best friend and kind of work with yourself. And I think the one thing that I found, especially with anxiety or mental health, is you can't go against it and fight it and say, you know, excuse my language, F this, you know, like, and run away from it. I found that you have to go head on with it and be like, this is a part of who I am. I'm feeling this for a certain reason. My anxiety is at an all-time high right now because we're in a quarantine. There's a virus going around. I don't know if I'm going to get it. I don't know if I could die from it. This is really scary. But let me shut the news off and not keep the news going on all day, or watching all the comments on Twitter, or watching the death rates. Let me shut my phone off. Let me try to make a meal right now. And if it gets to a point in your life where you feel like you can't get a hold of it and it's taking over your life and you really can't sleep or be happy, then you would talk to a medical professional who your insurance should help you with. If you don't have insurance, what do you do?
Well, first of all, let's start with human connection. Your friends, you know, talking to people is really helpful for your mental health. And one of the challenges we face is isolation causes risk of depression and loneliness. If you don't have insurance in America, there's a website called Free Clinics. It might be called Free Clinics of America, but if you Google it, there are services that are provided across the country for people with no insurance. And the first thing they'll do, they're going to figure out if you're eligible for Medicaid, which is a kind of insurance in America that millions of people have, and that can get you services. I'm sorry, it's such a patchwork in America. I wish I could say, call 411 for mental health. We're not there yet, but we need to get there. And
yeah, we do.
I really agree with you. But people like you, people that we admire, we listen to their work.
My music, when I didn't have a therapist, or I didn't think I needed a therapist, because I was always anxious all my life, my music was literally, listening to even other artists was sometimes the only thing really keeping me, kind of getting through the days. I didn't want to leave the house for a very long time. So, yeah. So I feel like my music has really, not mine, just music in general has really helped me a lot, you know?
Hmm. One of the comments came up about the National Suicide Helpline. That's 1-800-273-TALK. That is available.
1-800-273-TALK.
So it's available 24/7, and they have staffed up because some people are overwhelmed by this experience.
Of
And
course.
I think when people like you say, "I'm living with some of this," it makes a difference, right? You have a bazillion followers on Instagram, right? And I think it helps when people who are successful in life while dealing with something, right? That's helpful for us, right? Because I want to be successful while dealing with whatever I'm dealing with, anxiety,
Oh,
depression, loneliness, right? We all want to engage in life, but not pretend we don't have it. So the old school model, I think the old generation, that model is really out the window. Your generation is doing better. You should be proud of the work you're doing as a community of people in their 20s and 30s and teens to be open about this, because we're going to do better over time if we accept that this part of mental health is part of life.
so we have to, and we have to be our own. I think that's being honest, but then also being our own cheerleaders in a sense. It's so hard though, especially when I've had moments where what do you do if you're home right now and you're, a mother or a teenager? What do you do right now in this very moment if you are freaked out and you are falling? Because I've been there before, where
Mm-hmm.
you're falling deeper in the hole, because I've had moments where I've just, gotten so negative and then even more negative and negative and negative and negative. And it feels like you're like, just like literally like digging your own grave. And it's like, how do you pull yourself out? Is there anything you could do or tell yourself to make yourself feel like it's gonna be okay?
Well,
Like, is
don't
there?
believe the scariest thoughts. Let them go by like a river, right? Something bad could happen to someone I love. Something bad could happen to me. But you don't have to jump into that river and believe those thoughts. Your brain is wired to anticipate very negative things. Your brain is wired that way so you can say, oh, I better get my medicines organized. Which hospital would I go to? If someone I loved got sick, how would I communicate with them? The river of anxiety is flowing by. Don't jump in it, but it is there. You can acknowledge it. And I think, your approach is really very effective, Bebe. I think, your leadership in this area is exemplary. And I just want to thank you really for
Thank you.
all you're doing around mental health. I think it's great. And your music is great.
I thank you. I think for my fans, it's tough. Times are tough, and I think when you really fall into the hole, what I do is I try to look at, like, I'll think of something really silly, right? I'll just say something like just something so stupid that gets me like in a negative headspace, and I'll be like, you know what? That's not real.
Mhm.
That is a thought. That is
That's right.
not really,
That's
like, you have to think
exactly
of
right.
the
You got it.
anxiety. You have to think of the anxiety as these
You
thoughts
got
that
it.
are floating
That's right.
around that start making you feel like this thing is real,
Mhm.
like it's really happening, but it's not. It's like a lie. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's about figuring that out. But
that's right.
Ken, thank you so much for talking to me,
It
and
was
like,
a pleasure, Bebe.
yeah, and this is really helpful, and I'm going to leave this up on my page, and people can keep watching this and coming back to it. And it's really, I think it's important to have these real conversations. It's great to sit on social media and do my makeup and look really hot and prance around and put out new music, but to talk to you and to, like, for you to give us your time is really
Well,
is
this is
really
what
awesome.
people are dealing with right now. We're all excited about your next set of creations, but in the meantime, we're all dealing with, our own uncertainty and anxiety. And so it's good to talk about it.
Thank you so much, Ken.
All the best. Thank you, Bebe. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, guys, thank you so much to Nami and to Ken Duckworth. I hope that helped you guys. I know times are tough and it sucks, but you can be your own cheerleader. As I said, wake up, work out if you can, or do a little stretch. If I don't feel like working out, because sometimes I wake up like super bummed out and I can't, control, like, you just never know how you're going to wake up one day. So sometimes I wake up and I feel super bummed out and I will force myself to do a workout. Even a stretch. or a YouTube video, something just to keep yourself busy, a big glass of water. Painting, you could even draw, order some crayons for like $3-4 off of Amazon and draw on computer paper, make drawings about how you feel. Journaling is awesome. I've been journaling so much. It makes me feel so much better. I've been doing my nails a lot. I have my Sinful nails actually. I'm actually about to do these ones right now. It's gonna be really cute. And just stay creative. It's really helpful. And also, we have Zoom, FaceTime. Pick up your FaceTime, pick up your Zoom, and talk to your family members, talk to your friends. Just, kind of get out your own emotions. And hopefully these tips help you feel better. It's Mental Awareness Month. It's May. And you are strong. And I love you all very much. And you can get through anything. Love you. By the way, isn't my makeup so good? I did such a good job.